Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, says I'm live, so I'm live. I would if I could, so I can, so I did. That's basically why I'm here tonight. I mentioned that I was going to go try to do it again tonight, and so here I am. Try not to disappoint too much, but we all have our moments, don't we? I wanted to get out here about a half hour, 45 minutes ago. I was like, you know how that is. Well, tonight I had an idea. It's not going to be very big, and it's going to be just probably about, I'd say about 2 or less inches in length is what I'm going to do. A piece of tubing. I tried to explain it. My student that I'm teaching over in Imlile, he had one of his things where he had frit on the inside, and the frit had sort of stretched and folded over onto itself, and then he twisted it a little bit, and it got sort of like a little bit of a corkscrew going on. I wanted to try to duplicate that same similar type pattern, but not using, where you pull it and sort of fold it onto itself. And that is what I'm going to try to duplicate. It's not going to be very long, probably about 15, 20-minute show. Hi, Silver. Nice to see that you're out there. Like I said, I said I'd try to be here, and thus here I am. Anyway, let's get on with what I can have, would, should, could, will do, and go from there. Right? Right. Let me sort of clean the table. Ready? There we go. That's clean. Yeah, that's it. Now you can see right around the area that you need to see. Okay. Um, for this demonstration, I'm going to probably use, like I said, close to this amount of tubing. And of course, it helps to have a blow hose, but if you don't have a blow hose, that's one of those things that I think is a very necessary piece of equipment for your um, setup. Okay, so now I had to change out my blow hose. Yes, my two blow hose mouthpieces are made out of glass, and sometimes they hit them just right, and ka-chunk, there they go. So, without further ado, and sometimes they last 6 months, sometimes they last 2 days, sometimes an hour. Hello, Paula. Nice to see that people are watching, and that's part of my fun is having people um, see what I do. I love the audience, and it's part of the fun. Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the other camera, turn on the concentrator. It's a 10 liter per minute concentrator. Let's go ahead and switch camera angles. There we go. Yay! Yes, I cleaned, but you should have seen it just a second ago. I just went, you know how that goes. I want to tilt this a little bit this way. There we go. And at this point, I do have the um, the chat room up in front of me, so I can see what's going on. Let's put the pillow in the lap. Concentrator's probably going pretty good at the moment, so we will light her up. Kick the fires and light the tires. Or is that kick the tires and light the fires? One of the three, right? Okay, first of all, the color that I think about using is a green exotic. Let me see if I've got enough that I want to do with. It might, no, this might be blue exotic, but it'll still do the trick. Um, yeah, And I got to make sure that I don't choke myself. The tubing seems to be going around my neck just right. Now, let's see if we can do this. Hi, Parody. Prody. Per, pro, dude. Yeah, anyway. Sorry, Knox. I think I'll just stay with Knox. I'm dyslexic and can't read that for some dumb reason. Okay. Let's, instead of a wet cullet can, I have a dry one. You know, instead of a wet can to heat and tap it off with, I just pull off just enough that I want to do things with and go from there. Now, again, I'm starting with probably 9.5 heavy wall tubing. And what I'm going to do first is add a layer and then encase, but not completely encase. You'll see what I'm going to do as I do it. Like I said, I'm going to make or duplicate a corkscrew type pattern in tubing, which is pretty cool. Going to layer it in piece for piece. It's getting there. And instead of heating up the tubing that I'm putting it to, I'm heating it up to the rod. Also, I noticed yesterday, I watched some of yesterday's video, and when I went to click like and click subscribe, I was not doing it in the right pattern because I was thinking like was over here, but then I got to remember stage left instead of stage right, and this is stage right. I'm putting it over here on stage left because you're seeing it from the. I don't know why it's reversed, but the like button is there, and the subscribe button is there. Okay, now that is a completed layer of this. Now I'm going to add a layer of clear, but it's not going to be. It's this is sort of like going to be sort of like my bloom shroom, where the rim of the mushroom blooms out. But this is going to be in the pattern of the tubing. Okay, with that, I'll add a layer of clear here. Skip a little space. Add another layer of clear there. Skip a space, and I should be able to get 3 or 4 of them on this. And as I'm layering this clear over this, I am heating up the rod that's in my right hand onto the tubing. And the tubing is not losing very much integrity, I guess you could say. It is heating up and keeping, I wouldn't say stress less, but where it's not going to crack and break on you either. Okay? Now, between each one of these gaps, I'm going to pick up the rod that I encased with and layer another line of color just in the gaps. Okay? You'll see what's going on in just a second. Right between the gaps, there it goes. And you could do this with multicolors if you wanted to, depending upon what you want to do. And it should make more of a ribbon look in the corkscrew. And this is getting a little warm, of course. You know me, I take it down to the nub most of the time. here we go. I'll do a weld there and continue with that rod. Okay. Where was I? Uh-oh. Here we are. One of the ways I find out where I'm at and what I'm doing, if I have to skip or do what I just did, which was add something, is this little tuft that I do right at the very end. It tells me, see, there's the first tuft I did, or the first line of color I did. And the second line has also one of those tufts to it. The third line had one of the tufts. The fourth, and then the one that I hadn't done yet was right there, and I just did it, and it now has a little tuft going on. I want to call it a tuft, but a little tag, whatever you want to call it. Now, the idea is to add one more layer of clear to where you add the clear. And then you're going to do a quick layer with the color one more time. All the way around after you do this one layer here, okay? It should make sense in a little bit. Any questions so far? Everybody's going, okay. Actually, it's getting a little wider gap than I want, so I'm going to try to narrow the gap here. Now, what's going to happen with the clear, the color, and the clear like this is that it's going to all find its layers. It's kind of hard to explain. Just as in the bloom shroom is what I call them, the line stretches from where it was to the surface of the to this practically to the surface of the pendant bead, whatever. And I will uh, do a link to my bloom shroom so that you understand a little bit what I'm saying. But most of the time, you see a mushroom and the end of the where the rim of the mushroom is, it rounds under, and on mine they round outward, and it's because I do this sort of trick to it, and it really does make a difference. And here, so far this has been hollow, and it is hollow all the way through, just the way I know it is because I made it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just let it round in. Actually, I'll stretch it out a little bit. And then I'll add one layer of clear all the way over this. Looks like it's turning into it's going to be about 2 to 3 inches long, the way I'm doing this. Now, if you notice, I just added a little air all the way down the thing, and it was narrow, and I bulged it out a little more. And I'm going to bring it out just a little bit more, and then stretch it down. Okay, I'm here until about 9 o'clock, and then I got to go. I should be on this for about another 5-10 minutes, and then again. So if you have another request that you'd like to see me do, oops, my cold bell came off. Okay, I've got to do something here. Okay, it's all rounding in quite nicely. And so far, you really, really can't see the corkscrew that I was talking about, but it should become pretty relevant shortly. I should have tried this. Oops, I'm about to collapse where it goes into the blow tube. It was about ready to narrow down and collapse on itself. So I was like, oh, oops, but we're still there. Okay, we're going to do this stretch out one more time, and we're also going to layer one more layer of clear all the way over this. And then I'm going to start to twist it like I was telling you about. And it should have the effect that I'm looking for. Tubing is so much fun to play with, but you got to try to make it hollow all the way through. And to prove to you that it's hollow all the way through, I'll do a little, almost a blowout here. But I'll collapse it back because I don't want it to really blow out at this point. Okay, this should work. I say that, and with my luck, nah, it should work. Let's go ahead and I'm going to add a layer of clear all the way around, just because I can. But this time I'm only going to go about that far. Time-wise, and I could probably use that for something else later on down the road anyway. Okay? Okay. Okay. And again, the way I figure out where I have been last is I do a little bit of pull of a tuft, and you can sort of see the little bump. But as you do that, you got to make sure that you are sealing it in well. So otherwise, right where you sort of pull out, it becomes a natural fissure or crack and can break and stress out right at that point. Okay, okay, okay. We're getting there. One row after the other. Nobody's laid out a question or said anything? How to do flame working soon. And don't get too close to the sun, Icarus. Ha ha ha. Nice name. Isn't that what it is? Icarus? Yeah, Icarus. The guy who got too close to the sun with his waxed on wings. Glass is a different subject altogether, though. Okay, I hope you have fun. Glass is a very unique material. It has so many, and people think glass is glass, but that's like saying aluminum is steel because one type of glass has this type of property, like and a different melting point, and other types of glass, like they got that new Gorilla Glass type stuff, or even Gorilla. I think they're going to Gorilla 3 now, which is even going to be even more durable. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start giving it a little bit of a corkscrew here. And it's getting there. I should have probably used a better. I should have probably used a better um, ribbon color. In other words, the corkscrew color compared to the color that it was already. I'm already seeing you can't see it as detailed as I would like for you to have seen it. In other words, it's not ribboning out like I thought it would. I need to probably. It's good to come up with a good name for yourself. The worst part of it nowadays, to get a name that nobody else has gotten. Well, in my case, it, I put Lou Libby, and there's actually Libby Lou, which people get confused with. But once you realize it's not glass blowing, you say, That's not who I'm looking for." Okay, there's one of these. Have you had a chance to sit in front of a torch yet at all, Icarus? I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and I'll put that on a blow hose and make that into something later on. Right about there. Now to even this out and put it to a tubing right now. That way the stress levels in it are minimal, and it should feel really nice right now. There's a tubing, and seal them together. I don't know if you could hear that. Sometimes when you put some tubing together, or when you've got tubing, and you've blown into it, down at the far end, you'll hear. I'm going to take a beginner's class. Cool. They're all over the country. If you happen to be in North Carolina area, I'm, or you know, Eastern North Carolina is where I call home. And there's that one. We're going to put that in a upward stance. There we go. You just can't see it, but it's right off. I'll show you where I put that. Best thing to do is when you're doing something like that and you want to use it later or whatever, the best thing to do is put it in an upward stance so the heat sort of rises upwards instead of sideways. Or it cools it better. It's like a cooling tower, I guess. And I shouldn't have touched that. And now it's going to be hard to reassemble or realign that. There we go. Now back to this one. Okay. Yeah, I said I'd be here, and I. That's one of the things I like to try to do is try not to lie too much to my audience. Okay, I'm going to layer this one more time in clear, but this time I'm going to add more and leave the gap. Still just leave sort of a little bit of a gap where the color was, the color ribbon I made. Just leave a little bit of a gap, not a lot, not a big one, just a little bit of a gap. What's going to go on is just like I do the gap on the mushroom. This should bring the surface layer of the color up to the actual color ribbon to the surface. And I'll try to explain it to you in just a second because I've got hot glass in my hand and I want to get it done here. Ah, what is it about when you got hot glass in your hand and you get an itch on the end of your nose? It's almost like it's instantaneous or something. Okay, there we go. Let's try this. If this doesn't work, I'll cry and try again later. Okay, so what's going on, or why I'm building it up like this in between the color, is where you've got the color and the clear, and when you heat it up, the color and the clear it'll find its own surface layer. It's sort of like when you put a piece of glass in the flame, it'll round into itself and make a round ball no matter what you do. But what's going to go on here is that the surface of the glass is all going to find the same layer. And with those gaps, it will turn around and bring the color with it as it goes. Oops, blowing a little bit too hard and it popped a bubble on the surface. Hey, Calvin, thanks for showing up. Looks like I have 6 viewers at the moment, which is a cool thing. I'm excited. Now this should prove a little bit more color worthy or ribbon worthy the way I stacked it this time. Good thing I only did half and now I did the other half. And again, it is finding its layers. I wish I had used a different color, and I will probably do another one very quickly and in one of my next videos show you color layers and stuff like that. But oh yeah, this is turning out a little bit deeper in the ribbon between the grooves here. And like you know me, I try to shoot from the hip, and if you see me make a mistake, I work with it. I don't just say, oh, cut. I let you see me try to work it into a piece. Oh yeah, that worked out a whole lot better this time around. It's a little thick the way I'm doing it. Still hollow all the way through. Yeah, it's still glowing. I'm sorry about that, folks. I need to find the right shading or coloring or tinting or whatever for my torch work so you guys can see what I'm doing full time. The right filter, I guess. I got an idea. Probably regret it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ready for this? I don't know if you saw what I just did, but I rippled it in the opposite direction, sort of a wigwag going on. And I'll twist that a little tighter and do another one right down here at the bottom. There it goes, ripples. Same idea. I will try to show you the depths of the ribbon. Oh yeah. I like I said, I wish I'd have used a different color so that you could see the contrast with the color. In other words, the the outstanding ridges of the thing. I'm going to pull that off. Oh yeah, you can definitely see those ridges. And in yours, you can't see it yet. I'm going to try to get it close enough. Look at the edges. No, you can't see it, darn. Yeah, there you go. How deep the ripples are and how high they stand out. And if you did that a couple more times with the color, oh yeah. It's as it's cooling, you're able to see the depth of the ridges there. That was the whole idea of this show. For some reason, that's what I felt like doing. And so, yeah, I did it. With that, do we have any requests? I've got a little bit of time before I can I'm going to warm this out a little bit. It's kind of thick and probably stressable. I will do a video of it and put it on my Melting Memories page, of course. And if you have any questions, again, anytime, now would be a good time. If you have a request, something that you'd like to see me do, ask and you shall receive. I've got a little bit of time. This is the best time of day to catch you online. Yes, this is about between now and if I don't work, and Monday and Tuesday I'm not working, so you could catch me up until about, well, my regular working hours are 10 at night till 7 in the morning. I work at a local Walmart store here. Somebody's got to pay the bills. I'm getting, I it's one of those things. The wife got me connected. Instead of doing shows all the time, she got me wanting a paper trail type job to do the so that she knows how much money's coming in. And one show, you can pick up $2,000 to $3,000. Another show only 150. So she wanted a steady one, whether it's 250 a week or whatever. So I gave her that choice, and that's what she gave me. Anyway, that's what I gave her. Now I feel like doing another little Christmas ornament, because actually I'll do a quick icicle too. Let's do a quick icicle, and I've got an idea. Actually, I think I showed you the idea once before, but instead of making a flat ribbon and pulling it out, which they look okay too, not really a request unless you have time, but have you ever made a glass cat? Yeah, several of them. And after I do this quick icicle, I'll go into a cat just for you. Okay? Okay. Now, this icicle is going to be, you're going to say it's a little bit different, but it'll work. What's going to go on is, instead of flattening and twisting and causing stress in the glass as you twist and make that, I don't know, twisted pattern going on, what you do is you add layers and leave a little gap. Again, what I was doing before. Okay? Layers like this. And of course, you could do this to a whole rod. I'm just doing it for quickness and also demonstration purposes, like so. Now, for every one of those lines, instead of having to twist it once or twice or 3 times to get one line, now for every one of these lines, you will get sort of a twist pattern going on, like so. After this icicle, I'm going to go straight into, and I told you I would, a cat. Do you want it sitting, standing, or laying on its back, playing with its tail? Those are the types of cats I usually do. Again, I'm heating and twisting and pulling at the same time, but because I have all those lines, it's looking like it's really, really twisted, but I'm only doing like a quarter of a turn for each one of those twists. You see there? And again, it's less stress in the glass and less chance of it breaking on you while you're working it, and so on and so forth. That's icicle trick number 355. Okay, laying on its back, playing with its tail sounds like a cool one, so we're going to go for it. Uh, we're going to put now I'm going to just make a nice long line here. I am not going to make this actually into icicles. I can go back and put some loops on them later, but or bail or whatever you want to do. And from this one, you got like, I'm going to stretch that a little bit more and probably get about 5, 6 icicles out of that. And as you can see, it looks really twisted and really, really, but because of those lines, you're not twisting it as far and as fast and as heavy. Okay, okay. So now to the cat. We're going to try to do this cat in about 3 minutes or less. How's that sound? Okay. First of all, when I do a cat, I usually do the main part of the body because that's the way I do things. I'm going to make a nice sort of a round body, but then sort of teardrop it out for the, or elongate it a little bit for the body itself. With me so far, round ball, and then I sort of stretch it out and elongate it. And that's the main body of the cat right there. Doesn't look like much. Then I heat up one side and press. And now that's going to be the bottom of the cat. And that's one of the things you'll learn when you're doing three-dimensional objects, that you will have a top, bottom, front, side, left, right, all that sort of stuff, okay? So that now becomes the bottom of the cat. Now the head to the cat comes. Where I'm holding on to it is going to be the tail, okay? And this is a very simple, basic shape of a cat. It has pointed ears, the nose, it'll have blue eyes, and that's the thing I like about my animals or my figurines, is that it has that that universal. I gear it to the 5-year-old in all of us. That you can say that's a cat, that's a mouse, that's a swan, that's a whale, that's a snail, that's a elephant, and you don't go, is that a dog or a unicorn or a dragon? You know what I mean? It's learning those basic shapes and being able to put them in, or an alphabet of shapes that you can draw from. And I talk about the alphabet of shapes many times in my videos. You just have to go back and watch some of them to see it. And I think I've mentioned it in a couple of the. If I find the alphabet of shapes in one of the letter titles of the videos, I will put it in the description down below. Okay. Okay. Now, blue eyes. If you can, I want to suggest that you always try to put eyes on the animals that you make. People will look for the eyes. If they have eyes, it's great. If it doesn't have eyes, they'll imagine them. But if you can put eyes on it, you're that much further ahead. Eyes are the windows to the soul. It's fun trying to make sure that they're across from each other and not up and down from each other. And again, that takes time and practice to learn. And I will show this in the video on YouTube, Facebook, excuse me. And also, I think the cover of this video will have the cat and the 2 pieces of tubing that I did. And you can see the different layers and stuff like that. Okay, now, here we go. And the icicle. I'll put the icicle in there, of course. You have to add 4 legs. And the front legs, I want to call them just straight, but in this case, they sort of will be sort of a little bit of a curve, like so. That's one. And again, when you're adding to the main, adding more glass to anything, you're not just sticking it to the glass. You're making sure that it's a good seal, that it's becoming part of the animal figurine that you're making, not just stuck to it, because otherwise that's where it'll break off. Okay. Point the ears a little bit better. It's the perfectionist in me, right? Yeah, you can see I'm a very big perfectionist with the clutter and stuff, but still, that's a different story. We are our own worst critic, are we not? Now, back legs, I usually call them an L bend, and the reason I call it an L bend is that it goes, and I heat it and bend it in one direction and let it cool a little bit, and then I heat and bend it upwards, a straight sort of like L shot. See there? Shape of an L. And some people are saying the L that it is. No. Yes, yes, we are. Okay. We are our own worst critic. You are right, country. Big country. Big country glass. That's a nice name. That name, you ought to have your own video. Howdy, welcome to Big Country Glass. Today I'm making a mule so you can kiss my mule. And this cow's going to look utterly nice. That's it. Yeah. I'm sorry. I do like the name. As you can see, I'm a punster. Okay, now what I've done so far, again, I've made sure that we got a flat. It's laying on its back. I've got the legs basically where I want them. And now we're going to make the tail. And the tail is just going to be sort of like a nice C and come up about right where the rod is in front of this cat. And it's a little longer tail than what it should be. I'm going to put a cold weld here, a, a punte on his head. And I'm right-handed. So most of the actual line work that I do or making shapes, uh, it's I heat up the rod and use it like a pencil in my right hand. And that's almost enough. About another, I do like about an inch, a quarter of an inch to a half an inch of rod here, make it nice and pliable. And now I'm going to pull and pull and pull and go halfway up like so and pull it off. And now I'm going to let gravity work and bring it around and let it droop. And there we got a cat laying on its back, playing with its tail. Simple, effective fire polish where you have a cold weld. There's a little bit of a shard there. Oops, great. I'm graceful. And with that, I believe, yeah, I'm running out of time. I've got to go to work tonight. I got to be there in about an hour. So I'm going to call it quits for the day. Thank you for being there. Let me go back to the face where you can see my purty little face going on there. There we are. Hey! Uh, uh, it's simpleness. Sometimes, again, you've got to bring out, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the concentrator. Simpleness. Um, you bring shapes to shapes. Round balls, you'll do that over and over again. The points, fold and pull is another one that I talk about, which really does come in handy. If you can't get the idea of the fold and pull yet, you'll just sort of add a blob of glass, then pinch or press it, and then pull it out into a tuft like an ear or something like that. And you just basically build those shapes, and it's muscle memory, learning that shape over and over again and doing it over and over again. And with that, you to um, get to use. And if you get into nice detail, and I suggest in some respects, when you're first learning to use a smaller flame and less glass, A, you're not wasting as much, and B, you're still learning the basic principles of the glass, and then you could work yourself into a bigger flame later. Um, but it when you learn to do it smaller, you're still learning the same basic shapes. And then as you learn to do it bigger, you just learn to melt a little bit more glass to it. To give you an idea, one of the little tiny, 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 tiny when you got control, here we go. I'm going to go back to the other one here. When you've got control, you can learn. And this one, as I get closer, you might be able to see it. Oops, that's not helping either. Let's see if I got a different background that I can. Of course not. To show it off, maybe this will work. Set it down. There we go. It's still too bright. There we go. Now that is a little horse. That in itself is amazing, but it's also made out of uh, a beach pebble. I actually take smooth, flat skimming stones from the beach and melt them down and make figurines out of them. It takes about twice the amount of heat and it is brighter than sin. I don't suggest you start playing with that unless you got a welding shade and plenty of ventilation because it sort of smells like the best way I can just. If you ever stick your head in or face in some dirt and breathe, or not dirt, but sand and breathe, it has that dry, dusty, I wouldn't say musty, but dusty smell to it. That's about what the quartz smell is. But if you got good ventilation, that does help. And again, I like doing smaller things. Most people like to do them bigger and better. I like to do them smaller and better. That's just the way life is, right? Right. Now,